Goonerettes, what's going on, guys? Good to see you guys. It's melting hot today here. It's 23 degrees in the city, and I'm really up for game day today. And it's really good to be back, guys. I've got over my illness over the last few weeks, so I'm feeling pumped up for today. About to go and meet Gary, but before I do, let me move aside over this side. Talk about the team news. Team sheet, guys, there's only one major change today, and that is Zinchenko out for Kieran Tierney. So we're going with Ramsdale in goal. We've got Kieran Tierney, Kivior, Gabriel, and Ben White as your defence. And then you have Jorginho and Xhaka in the middle. So Jorginho keeps his place. And there is a thing, I looked at the average marks out of 10 that he's had from myself this season, and it comes up at 7.5. So he's really been able to put and churn out some consistency levels on there. And really, I'm a bit miffed with that. So I'm going to talk about that first. So it does stand to reason why we've had some changes in that position. Arteta didn't even think twice. Like, Partey's had 3 bad games and he's benched. Zinchenko and Xhaka before that were pretty much having 4 or 5 bad games and really wasn't benched. I know that Xhaka had an issue and then was replaced by Vieira in one game. But outside of that, and look, and Xhaka played well the other week and had a fantastic game. But my point is, when players are off the boil, don't take 4 or 5 games to make a change. And in the case of Zinchenko, don't change it at all. I know he's pivotal to the way Arsenal plays. But if you're coming up against a team that's going to exploit that, you have to have a plan B. And we all agree that one of Arteta's downfalls, he's done a fantastic job this season with the youngest team in the league. There's no doubt about it. For me, Arteta should get manager of the year, even though a lot of people are saying otherwise. But I think that faced with what he's had to deal with, I think he's done an impeccable job. However, there's a couple of players. I don't want to really throw in Ben White as well. Again, he was decent last week, but Ben White has not been great for 5 or 6 games. But then there's no real option at right back, so one can say that, Ben White's had to carry that. But the problem is, in the face of inconsistencies, he's not rotating the team, and the rotation has been the biggest weakness this season, bar none. That's if there's one thing that I would say that's held us back, it's probably been the lack of rotation. And all that means on the back end of that come this summer is that you're going to want players to leave. Now, God only knows what Charlie Patino's decision was in terms of him wanting to go. But then if he sits back and he looks at the likes of Smith Rowe, who's been fit for a couple of months now, if he looks at Reece Nelson, if he looks at Kieran Tierney, if he looks at some players in the team that are fit and not getting a call, then Patino's probably thinking, hold on a second, I'm behind Jorginho, Partey, Xhaka, and I'm probably going to be behind Sambi if he comes back, and behind El Nene. So hold on, like, I'm 6 on the pecking order. There's no chance that I'll get in there within a shout. And really, one has to look at that and think to themselves, in order for me to aspire, I have to challenge for a place. Like, there's, Saka, Smith Rowe, and all them guys wasn't given their positions outrightly. They had to fight for it. They had to get a chance to play, get on the field, and then they had to fight for it. The same with Nketiah. Yeah, they had to show the boss what they could do on the field. Then they were able to increase their minutes. So if Patino's taken that stance of, I'm not even going to try, then to me that doesn't say much. It doesn't say much about you as a player, because you have to have the understanding that no position is a God-given right. Saka's not first on the team sheet for a reason. He's there because he's been able to prove that he deserves to be there. And thus, that's the challenge in being a professional footballer. So if you're going to just want to go somewhere where they're going to give you the keys without you trying, that's probably not the right place for you. So that's just my advice on that anyway. However, up front, we've got Odegaard, and then we've got Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka. And I think we were talking about form and drop-off and things like that, and Saka hasn't played well in the last 3 games. And this would have been a game where I would have started Martinelli on the right and put Trossard on the left. Trossard is a guy who's delivered creatively, been one of our standout players. When he came off the bench the other week, changed the game. And he's been doing that ever since. He hasn't had a bad game for Arsenal, same as what we can say with Jorginho. So questions have to be asked there. Why, you're quick to make this decision with Jorginho, But elsewhere where players are not playing well, you've not facilitated any changes. So, yeah, if you're Thomas Partey, then, you know, and Thomas Partey did hold his hand up and say, yeah, I know I haven't been playing well and I support Zinchenko. Fair play, fair dues to you, mate. But that's not reciprocated elsewhere in the league. So you've got to think about what's going on there behind closed doors. And is there a level of favoritism as well, which there shouldn't be. It should always be about the team performance first. It should always be about what is best for the team. And I'm not sure that's happening just right now. I will question it. I'm Arteta's biggest fan. I was Arteta in from number one. I never wanted to get the manager sacked. But you have to be critical. You have to add critique where you can. And that's one thing I can kind of roll him on. So outside of that, guys, I'm looking for a 2-1 victory today. It's going to be tough because, look, I've just seen the result with Manchester City and Everton, and again, 3-0 win. Haaland now, 36 goals. It's never happened in Premier League history, but it's only ever happened once before in the old division. I think it was 1965, 1966. That was before I was born. So it just goes to show you how much of an impeccable job that he's doing. You've got the best striker playing for the best team in the league. You know, all the accolades there. If Arsenal lose the title, then they've just lost it to the better team. But for me, the warning signs were happening a long time ago. And a lot of people like to talk about William Saliba and what's happened with him since he's gone out. Guys, let's face it. Even when Saliba was in the team in the last 10 games, we didn't keep a clean sheet. So you can talk about Saliba as much as you like, but this team has been hemorrhaging goals for a long time. And it's really bad at home. At home, we just cannot keep a clean sheet. So it was a great result at Newcastle. We were able to go into the Lions Den and put in one of the best performances, in my opinion, of the season. But coming back home, there needs to be a level of tactics to make this team a little bit more tighter. I know we're at home, the fans get there and then they all throw hell for leather and they're playing for the fans and they're throwing everything at the kitchen sink. But sometimes that makes you slightly vulnerable. And my point is, guys, looking at Man City's defence, looking at Arsenal's defence, it's not even close right now. Arsenal's defence over the last 2 months, over the last 12, 13, 14 games, has not been a title-winning defence. It hasn't. You can't use the Liverpool ethics of trying to outscore teams. Yeah? That doesn't work. That certainly isn't enough to win you a title. So Arteta's got a lot of work to do. There's something fundamentally wrong there why we're able to play so well away from home and then when we get home just start leaking goals, and that's been the antithesis of our failure really this season. Say what you want about the injuries, but this was happening long before all that was going on. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to go and meet Gary. I'll speak to you guys at half time. Peace right back at you, man. Nice one, guys. Yeah, guys, I've got to be straight with you, man. Transitional play was poor. I thought Brighton were the better team in the first half. Arsenal came on strong towards the end. It is 0-0, but there's so much issues to figure out for Arteta. I mean, first of all, there is no creativity, no transitional play in the midfield. We're getting dominated in the midfield. In our defence, we are squeezing them tightly when they're trying to play the ball out of the back. So we're doing a good job there. But when we're trying to play the ball out, we're in all sorts. And it's not working, and that's something that the manager's going to have to figure out. We have no idea where to go with the ball, what to do with it. We're giving the ball away, we're taking too long to do something with it. And Brighton is not that kind of team. Remember, Brighton's coming off a 5-1 mullering from last week, so they have a point to prove to their manager. But for us, guys, we're just not out of the traps, and unfortunately, we're so used to playing with Zinchenko, and we're so used to having him control the tempo of the game, that, you know, without Partey, it's not something that Jorginho can do by himself in a single pivot. So for me, I think that they're going to have to work on that. Whether they bring Partey on in the second half or move to a double pivot, I don't know, but somehow this has to work because it's not happening right now and we are struggling big time. Jesus is out of position. I think Ben White has held his own. Tierney's been defensively in the correct position at all times, at the back and moving forward. Every time we spring a trap moving forward, he's always there on the option overlap, and he's always in position when the ball's being played back. However, they are missing that extra man in the midfield, and I think that's what's going to have to change. What's your thoughts, Gary, in the first half?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, mate. You can see the reliability on Zinchenko throughout the season, and when he's not here, especially against the good teams, how much we are missing that, his involvement in creating from defence to attack. Like you say, Jorginho can't do it all on his own. But one thing that's bugging me is we seem to be dropping too deep. Our main striker, the number 9, whether it's Trossard or whether it's Jesus, they're dropping to the edge of the box, and when that ball breaks out, there's no one there to pick it up, and I think that's something that he's got to look at. Yeah. Someone that hold the ball up and then bring players on. But the spaces in the diagonals with getting runners in behind, and that's something that we don't do enough. And it's something that we can do. We've proved it here today already one time.
We have had chances, guys. We've had Odegaard after 5 minutes on the 18-yard line, had the chance to pull the trigger and he didn't. We've had Trossard, who was point blank in front of the goalkeeper, he goes over the bar. We've had Saka again, had a chance, just missed the target, putting the ball low to the right on the outside of the box. So we've had our chances, guys.
I think Saka's struggling for the last few games, isn't he? Saka's been struggling in the last few games. He hasn't been like his usual self. Obviously with Martinelli going off, there's no replacement there. I'd give Reece a go. I'd give Reece a good half hour here.
We've also had Brighton have gone close just once. Matoma finally switched over to the left-hand side, haggled Ben White, took him on, slipped him down the sideline, and then put the ball in, and then they missed from probably about 12 yards out, went over the bar. So that was the only real danger from them. But we're going to have to sort it out and see what happens in the second half, guys. I'll speak to you full time. Nice one, guys. Yeah, what's going on, guys? Arsenal lose 3-0, well and truly beaten. Half-time adjustments didn't really account for much, to be honest. I think I would have changed the setup from half-time straight away because you knew what was going on in the first half. But then they started the second half with the same players and the same problems persisted. And while Brighton had 70% possession in the first half and only really had one clear-cut chance, their chances for Brighton came in the second half and they took advantage of every single one of them. Matoma actually switched from the right to the left. They knew he was a mismatch for Ben White, and that's where the goal came from. And you just have to put your hand up and say they were completely outplayed today, outclassed, and Brighton deserved the result. And I don't have a single complaint about it, to be honest. The team cannot play without Zinchenko. They're so dependent on that one player playing in that one way that tactically they have to go away this summer and figure out how they can play in a double pivot and what that looks like, because it absolutely seems that they've got not a clue what to do without their main men there. Now you have to consider the fact that Arsenal have had 10 players that have been out for 2 months. Yeah, that's the average. 10 players have missed 2 months of football. That's just too much in a title run, and you need your players to be fit. You need your team to stand up. When you look at Man City's team, not a single player there has missed 2 months of football, not one. So it just goes to show how much work we've got to do in terms of building the squad, in terms of how the team plays, the commitment, and also the manager in terms of what he does. Because again, Arteta could have changed things at half-time and he didn't. He let it fester, he let it go on for far too long, and unfortunately we were thoroughly beaten today. And that's just how it is, guys. So Arsenal 0, Brighton 3. Tony's with you back at the studio, so I hope he's keeping you guys, I hope he's holding it down by there. But for me, guys, I don't really have anything else to say about Brighton today. I think they was fantastic. So for me, guys, that's it, man. I'll speak to you later.